All right. Hi everyone. Good day. I hope you guys had a nice day. My name is Tiwa Sulaiman and I'm a product designer. I think that's enough introduction, right? So today I'll be taking laws of UX. So let me just quickly go straight into the topic. So the things we'll be discussing today are laws of UX, the definition, some laws of UX with illustrations that will help you understand, and real life examples. We'll also be talking about usability heuristics, some usability heuristics, and then a couple of resources so that you can read on your own and after the session. And then we'll have time for questions. So first of all, what are laws of UX? Laws of UX is a collection of best practice that designers can consider when building user interfaces. Designers can use this knowledge to build more human-centered products and experiences instead of forcing users to adapt to the design of a product or experience. We can use some key principles from psychology as a guide for designing in a way that is adapted to people rather. So when you're designing a product, whatever it is that you're designing, right? People are used to certain things. People have been using other products before you launched your own product, and then they are used to these things. So you reinventing the wheel will basically give users terrible experience. And your main goal as a designer, as a UI UX designer, as a product designer, is that people should be able to achieve and accomplish their goals easily, period. That is your work as a product designer. So don't hinder people's accomplishing their goal by creating your own mental models. Don't do that. Don't reinvent wheels, right? They will basically allow people have terrible experience while using your products. So I'm going to be explaining some laws of UX. There are a couple of them. I think there are 19 or 20, but because of time, we'll be going through just 7, right? And then, I'll give you where you guys would go and read more about the laws of UX. So the first law is Jacob's law, right? And Jacob's law states that users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites that they already know, right? So for instance, if I want to shop for a product, I have a bunch of places to go. I have Amazon, I have AliExpress, I have Jumia, I have Konga. If I go to Konga and Konga is acting up, I will go to Jumia. If Jumia is acting up, I'll go to AliExpress. So there are a lot of options, right? So while you're being unique, while you're being creative with your designs and solutions, remember that users are familiar with specific mental models. In our heads, we already know how e-commerce sites should look like, right? There should be a bunch of options for me to choose from. There should be a bunch of pictures, there should be comments, there should be ratings from people, right? And if you want to reinvent the wheel, right? Maybe you want to be very creative and make sure you test. Make sure you do a bit of user testing before pushing your products to the public, right? So when you're doing the user testing, make sure that you monitor how users are using your product. If you see that the thing that you have reinvented makes the user not accomplish their goal, please remove it, because the main purpose of you creating that product is for people to accomplish their goal. So if whatever you reinvented or whatever extreme creativity that you have has made the user not accomplish their goal, kindly remove it, right? In this picture here, you can notice how both products have similar patterns, right? They have detailed descriptions, they have the price, they have discounts, they have purchase option, and they have a save for later option. They basically look the same. So me going from Jumia to Konga, it is the same thing. I don't have to now learn how Konga works or learn how Jumia works, because they are all designed similarly, right? So the next law is Hicks law. Hicks law states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices, right? When you're designing, make sure you break down complex tasks into smaller steps in order to decrease cognitive load. Avoid overwhelming your users by highlighting recommended options. Be careful not to simplify to the point of abstraction. Minimize choices when response times are critical to increase decision time. So for instance, you go to a restaurant and then they hand you the menu.
From Eurosat, I mean, don't know, everything will be exposed.
So imagine you go to a restaurant and then they hand you a menu, and then your menu is 15 pages, right? Trust me, in 2 hours, you've not picked the food you want to pick, right? And even when you now want to now decide, after you've taken a lot of time, what you eventually pick will be rice or normal pasta that you usually eat, because there's a lot of options to choose from, right? A company or a product that handles Hitler well is Netflix for me. Personally, anytime I want to eat something, whatever it is I want to eat, even if it's biscuits, I want to watch something while eating that thing. And then I use Netflix, so I'll just go to Netflix. So imagine I want to eat one biscuit, yeah, and then I go to Netflix and then I see a bunch of films and I do not know which to pick. So for this first screen, you can see that a bunch of movies here, and then I'm like, which one should I pick? I'm lost. But then Netflix handled this perfectly, right? They created recommendations. You can see here that it says top 10 films in Nigeria today. Instead of looking for a couple of movies out of 1,000 movies that are on Netflix, they already highlighted the number one. And I'm like, okay, if people are watching this movie, it has to be good. And then I just pick it. So instead of me going through all of those steps and looking for movies, I could just pick number one because they've recommended it for me, right? So I'm making decisions in less time. Also, when you use Netflix regularly, they have this algorithm thing, I think it's AI, right? That gives you movies according to other movies that you have watched. I love sci-fi movies. I love futuristic movies, and Netflix knows that. They understand that. That's why this picture right here shows a 92%. And trust me, anytime I have watched a movie that is 90% upward, it is a movie that I like. So they have helped me streamline, instead of searching for a lot of movies, they've streamlined my options in 2 different ways, right? Also, remember that I mentioned something. I said, be careful not to simplify to the point of abstraction. Let's take a look at what Apple did here, right? This remote is like typical remotes that all of us have in our houses. And then some buttons, let's not lie, you've never ever touched it before because you don't even know what it is used for, right? So Apple decided to, be the good guys. Oh yeah, let's simplify this thing. And then they created this remote control in the middle. Trust me, seeing this remote control, I do not know what to do. They have confused me more. I will just continue clicking on this, pressing these buttons, and I will be hoping that it takes me where I want it to take me. They have simplified to the point of abstraction, and they have confused me more. But see this other control here. This control has reduced the button by about 20. I think I counted it. They reduced the buttons here to about like less than 20. And then I can still do basic functionalities that I want to do. I can increase my volume. I can reduce my volume. I can put in a channel number, and they have simplified it. Apple did not do that well, but this other remote control did that perfectly. Another law of UX is Miller's law. People can't store a lot of items in their working memory, so make it easier for them to process and scan through items. A recent study showed that our attention span as human beings is 7 to 10 seconds, and that of a goldfish is about 15 seconds. So a goldfish pays more attention than us humans, right? You need to consider that while designing. Organize content in smaller chunks to help users process, understand, and memorize items. That's where this word chunking comes in, right? What is chunking? Chunking is grouping together connected things so that they can be processed as one, right? So have a couple of examples here. For those of us that are listening to the radio, whenever they are calling the number for, to call in, they don't just say the number, 081, blah, blah, blah. They don't just say it like that because they know that you are not going to get it, obviously. So what they do is they do 081, 357, all of those things. They break it into chunks so that you can grab it better and faster. Another example is Google Docs, right? So imagine if all of these things that are placed here, Google Docs puts it to your eyes, and then you go to the Google Docs and then you're seeing a bunch of things and you don't know where to start from. It would confuse you as a user. You're definitely going to leave Google Docs, trust me. But what have they done? They have chunked, they have reduced it into smaller bits, and they have grouped it in similar ways for me to understand. So see this chunk of text right here. The one on the left is packed. I cannot see it, I cannot read it, I do not know what is here. But the one on the right-hand side is broken down. I can easily scan through it, and I can easily understand. So while designing, make sure you do not overwhelm the user, because human beings don't have long attention span. Make sure you break whatever you want to show the user into chunks. The next law we'll be talking about is Fitts law. Fitts law states that the time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and size of the target. That sounds like physics, but let me break it down to you, right? Here, the only thing you should pay attention to as a user is how long will it take, as a designer is how long will it take my user to accomplish their goal, basically. Touch targets should be large enough for users to accurately select them. Touch targets should be placed in areas of an interface that allows them to be easily acquired. I would use Apple as another example of a product that we see regularly. For those of us that use iPhones and all, there's this small switch by the side of your iPhone that allows you to switch like your ringer mode on or off. That thing is the smallest thing ever. And anytime I want to use it, I basically have to remove my pouch to do that. It's taking me more time. It's making the process is more stressful, or I have to look for a pen to be able to switch it, right? That thing is small, and the touch target is very, very small for me to touch, like with my thumb, right? So Apple has basically made that very, very uncomfortable for me. So as designers, make sure you consider that. This on illustration shows how the thumb zone, right? So when you're using your phone, this is how convenient parts of your screens are, right? The green parts are the natural parts which are comfortable to reach. You can touch your phone right now and touch the green parts of your phone, right? You see that those parts are easy to touch. The orange parts, you have to stretch a bit. You have to stretch your thumb a bit. The red parts, you have to stretch like very well to be able to touch those things on those places, right? That's why most times when you see apps, the navigation part is always below. The home screen is always to the left, because that is very, very easy to click. Yes, this is a perfect example, right? So the middle part is the primary part. The main content is here, and it is easier for you to, reach as a user. When you're scrolling, you know that most times when you're scrolling on social media feeds, you swipe on the middle, at the middle of your phone, right? So information, most times when you're designing, put information there so that it's easier for users to, interact with the information that is there. Then we have the secondary parts. Tabs and other secondary actions that may be frequent. Keep the most used one on the left and the least used one on the right. That is why home button is always on the left. There's a reason for everything in design. So that's why the home button is always on the left hand side of the navigation bar. And then the tertiary part, actions people rarely use, menus, profiles. We can also trigger them by swiping gestures and swiping the app left or right, right? So for those of us that use Twitter, there's this, your profile picture is on the upper left, upper left hand side, right? It is hard for you to just click on that, but you can easily just swipe your screen to the other side and then it takes you there. Those are just things that will help your usability. The next thing is, for cars, right? On some of our cars, you can see that from your steering wheel, you can control some things. You can control the music, you can, for some cars, you can control the AC, I think. So you can control the music, you can stop the music, you can pick a call. That's maybe if your car can connect to Bluetooth and all of that, you can pick a call right from the steering wheel. They made life easier for you. So imagine you didn't have all of those buttons, and then sometimes when you're driving, you need to see very well. So you turn down the volume of the music, right? Instead of you stretching and maybe you close your eyes and then the car hits you and all of that, it is on your steering wheel. So you can easily just touch it and reduce the volume. That explains Fifth law very well. Another law is aesthetic usability effect. Users often perceive aesthetically pleasing designs as designs that are more usable. We actually, as humans, we actually judge a book by its cover. Let's not lie. If I go into a store and I see a purple thing, I will pick it because I love purple and purple is my favorite color and it is aesthetically pleasing to me. I'm basically judging a book by its cover. Another perfect example is there's this Fresh Yo that has a purple flavor. I do not even take Fresh Yo before, but because I saw it and it's purple and purple is aesthetically pleasing to my eyes, I bought it and I don't even like it. But because it's aesthetically pleasing, right? I bought it, right? So some people say your experience just has to be nice, your app doesn't have to be fine. That's not true. Your app being fine attracts people. When you go to a website and it's not fine, let us say the truth. You are going to be frustrated because you're like, what is this? And then there is a platform or there's a website that looks perfect, that looks nice. You want to use that website rather than using one that doesn't look good, right? And aesthetically pleasing design creates a positive response in people's brains and leads them to believe the design actually works better. So even if your experience is not too good, because it is fine, people would download it. People would go to your website before even considering the experience of the website. Another law is von Resford effect. The von Resford effect, also known as isolation effect, predicts that when multiple similar objects are present, the one that differs from the rest is most likely to be remembered. These are illustrations here. Out of all of these 4 objects that are here, I'm sure that this second one is most appealing to you and you're going to remember it. That's why you highlight when you read, right? For those of us that read the Bible, we highlight when we read the Bible because we want to remember that verse, right? Also, when you're designing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, pricing pages, whenever they want to recommend one, they highlight that one. They highlight the price they want you to pay, right? The recommended one, they highlight it. It's either always bigger or there's a banner on it or there's a different color and whatnot, right? Another law of UX is Doherty's threshold. Productivity soars when a computer and its user interact at a pace of less than 400 milliseconds. I ensure that neither has to wait on the other. Sounds like physics. Let me break it down. Provide system feedback within 400 milliseconds.
And this
in order to keep users' attention and increase productivity. Progress bars help you make wait time tolerable, regardless of their accuracy. Most times when you're using a product, right, and then you click on something and you're not seeing anything, you click on maybe submit or sign in and nothing is working, you're not getting any response, you're not getting, oh, my internet connection may be bad, all of those things, and then you're just clicking on it and nothing is happening. You're going to close the app and most likely even delete it, right? But if you click on something and then maybe it tells you, oh, system error or internet connection is bad, then you know what is happening at that point. Another example is this: when you click on download on Canva, right? It shows you this. So it shows you how long your download would take. Imagine you click on download and then you don't see anything. You're lost. You're like, is this even downloading? Sometimes you won't download multiple times because the system is not responding to the download button that you clicked, right? But this, it shows you, oh, we're downloading your designs. Just be patient until this progress bar fills up, right? Okay, so those are all the laws that I covered. There are a bunch more, and I would like you guys to read it. I'll be giving you guys a resource at the end of this session. So let's go to heuristics. What are usability heuristics? Usability heuristics were devised in 1994 by Jacob Nelson, a well-known Danish web consultant who had observed and analyzed the problems associated with user interface in his teachings and consulting work. So what are heuristics? Heuristics is a rule of thumb or a good guide to follow when making decisions while designing, basically. So the first one is visibility of system status. The design should always keep users informed about what is going on through appropriate feedback within a reasonable amount of time. You can see the illustration on my right. Someone booked a ride. It shows the person that your ride has been booked. It just basically tells you, oh yes, my ride has been booked. Instead of you clicking on book ride and then you're not seeing anything, you're basically going to be frustrated, right? Another heuristic is match between system and real world. The design should speak the user's language, use words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user rather than internal jargon. Follow real-world conventions, making information appear in a natural and logical way. These illustrations are basically icons on a MacBook, right? They basically match the real world. We can easily know that this is a bin, and that is how a bin in real life looks like. This is the same way a calendar in real life looks like. So even if it's not labeled, I already know what it is. This is how a notepad in real life looks like. This is how envelope that comes in the mail looks like. This is how cameras or this is how cameras look like. So I know, okay, this has to be FaceTime or camera or something. And this is how, things that are stacked together look like. And that is the menu on a MacBook, right? So the next heuristic is error prevention. Good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place, either eliminating error-prone conditions or check for them and present users with a confirmation option before they commit to action. This illustration shows the type of password that this app wants. So the app wants a lowercase, it wants 2 numbers, it wants 1 dash, it wants whatever it is, right? They have listed it there. Because normally, most of us have default passwords that we use, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then we use it for everything, basically. And then if this application did not put in their password requirements, and I basically just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to bring out an error because that is not the password format that this application wants. So to prevent that, just tell the users, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're supposed to do to prevent errors, right? Another heuristic is help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Error messages should be expressed in plain language, not error codes, precisely indicate the problem and constructively suggest a solution. So sometimes we go to some websites and we see error 503, error this, that. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what error 503 means. I don't know what error 404 means. Explain it to me in English, please. Okay, so tell the person, for instance, here it says, looks like this website is moved or missing. Go back. Basically tells me, it doesn't say error 404. It tells me, okay, this is what is happening. Or then maybe you want to send money to someone and then it's showing me error 404. I want to know why my money is not sending, not error 404. You can probably just say, oh, NIBBIS is not working at the moment, something, internet connection is not working. Tell me what is happening. Don't show me error 503 or something, right? And also allow them recover from errors. So maybe they go to the wrong screen by mistake, or they put in a wrong URL code or something. Tell them, okay, this URL, this website doesn't exist. Go back to where you're coming from, and then you can navigate your way from there. Another one is user control and freedom. When it's easy for people to back out of a process or undo an action, it fosters a sense of freedom and confidence. Exit allows users to remain in control of the system and avoid getting stuck and feeling frustrated. Imagine you want to download something, you click on download, and then you discover that, oh, this is not the thing I want to download. And then you're looking for a cancel button and you can't see it. You're going to be pissed off. One's going to waste your data, it's going to waste your time and a couple of things, right? So, and that's why it is better if you allow users to have control. Oh, you downloaded something by mistake. You can cancel it and all of that. You came to the wrong page, you can go back, you can reset the page. That's why this Control Z. You can always undo your mistakes and all of those things. Imagine there was no Control Z on Figma. A lot of people would not use Figma, trust me, because they will be stuck and frustrated while designing. Also, consistency and standards. Users should not have to wonder whether different words, situations, or actions mean the same thing. Follow patterns and industry conventions. This illustration shows perfectly what it is, what it means, what consistency and standard means. I just want to log in. These are the things I need to log in. Don't be asking me for my date of birth, where they gave birth to me, where they gave birth to my father. I just want to log in. And these are the things I need to log in, right? Also follow standards. Because you are creative, yes, everybody's creative. We know that. You don't have to make a button triangle or a crazy shape because you are very creative and maybe you can draw. No, follow standards. Make it a rectangle, probably rounded corners. If you don't want rounded corners, leave it like that. Don't be extra creative and then reinvent the wheel in a way that is going to frustrate your users and give your users a bad experience. Another thing is recognition rather than recall. Minimize the user's memory load by making objects, actions, and options visible. The user should not have to remember information from one part of the dialogue to another. Instructions for use of the system should be visible or easily retrievable whenever appropriate. I would use these shortcut examples, right? Sometimes we forget some shortcuts, and then probably we've even used them before, but then we've forgotten. But most applications for good user experience, they remind you. Right here, I'm on Figma, and then there is a shortcut here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's showing me that I can just click on R to restart, showing me options basically. Yeah. So it's showing me that I can just use Z to perform this action instead of me recalling that, oh, wait, how do I actually fit to a certain screen or something? It reminds me that this is what I need to use, right? So it's helping me to recognize what I need to do instead of recalling it by myself. Another thing is flexibility and ease of use. Shortcuts, basically. Hidden from novice users that are using your system for the first time. But shortcuts may speed up the interaction for the expert users, such that the design can cater to both inexperienced and experienced users. Allow users to tailor frequent actions. So if you're a newbie on Figma and all of that, I want to look for plugins, you would probably, I think without the shortcuts, you have to click on like 3 different things to be able to search for your plugins. But if I know my shortcuts, I just press on command/, and then I get my plugin menu. He has basically shortened the time that I would need to search for plugins. Instead of clicking on 3 different things, I'll just press command and / on my laptop and get the plugin menu. Another thing is aesthetics and minimalist designs. Interfaces should not contain information which is irrelevant or rarely needed. Every extra unit of information in an interface competes with the relevant unit of the information and diminishes their relative visibility. I don't know if you can see this image on my right. It is a platform, or it's a website to book flights, right? You can see how easy it is. It's basically just telling me, okay, put in the information you need to book a flight. It's not telling me, oh, this is the weather today, this is the weather for the planes, these are the planes available. It's not telling me that yet, because I just need to do one thing, book my flights. And it's just showing me, okay, you want to book your flight, this is how you book your flight, period. It's not telling me unnecessary information that I do not need. Minimalist design, take note of that. Another is help and documentation. It is best if the system doesn't need additional explanation, right? If you need to explain your design, you did not design it well, trust me. However, it may be necessary to provide documentation to help users understand how to complete tasks. That's when maybe you've reinvented a wheel, you've done something that is outside normal, right? Make sure that your users can get help and understand with proper documentation, right? Maybe there's something you need to know about the product. Make sure there's easy help, right? So that's why most apps have a help center. They have FAQs that you can easily go to and check for any issues you might be having with the product, right? So I've come to the end. I stated the 10 usability heuristics, but there are a couple of other heuristics that were not created by Nelson Norman. Google is your friend. Go to Google, search for usability heuristics. It will give you all the heuristics, including the one for Nelson and some others. Laws of UX, there are other laws. There are like 19 laws. They're important. There's a book. The book is about, I don't know, more than 100, 200 pages. You can read it. As a designer, you need to read things, because not everything that would be shown in a YouTube video or a class like this you need to read by yourself. So you can go to the website, lawsofux.com. You will see the laws there explained also. You will also see a link to download the book. I don't know whether it's free or not, but you can go there and check. You can also go to Nelson Norman Group. I advise everybody listening to me to actually go to Nelson Norman Group. Subscribe to their newsletter. This is not an advert. It's just me telling you what is good. Subscribe to their newsletter. You're going to get a mail like almost every day. And their mails will help you. They would help you learn what it is you need to know as a designer. Trust me, it's going to help you a lot. Then another YouTube channel I really, really recommend is AM Designs. They have a lot on laws of UX also, and a lot on other parts of design. Then Urban Community Design is also good. You can check them out on Google and, learn more information from them. So thank you very much for sticking to the end of the class. You guys have any questions? Any questions? I'd like to take questions now. Okay, so there's a question here. Was system feedback dependent on the UI UX developer or the web and app developer? And what can we do as UI UX designers to enable a swift feedback? Talk to your developer while you're designing. That's one. Secondly, think for your users, put yourself in your user's shoes, basically, right? As a user, you're going to think, okay, these are the errors that you can see, that you can, like, these are errors that you feel like users will make, and then create responses to those errors. For instance, everybody knows that sometimes you can be lost on a site and, you can be lost on a site, right? And then there is, make sure you design for that. Make sure you design for that, because you know that, okay, yes, this is an error that someone can make. Also, during usability testing, you can identify errors that your users make, and then you can create feedback for those errors, right? Another question says, I hope I've answered your question. I have two questions. One, can you say usability heuristics is also a UX law? There are a couple of usability heuristics, right? And usability heuristics basically just allow, help usability for your product, right? Whatever you're designing is going to allow your product to be usable, right? UX laws also do that. So it's, you really don't even need to look for a difference. You just need to understand that, okay, these are the things that I need. Most of them repeat each other, right? For instance, this one, Doherty threshold, this, and this, visibility of system status, they are alike, right? But the main purpose is understand them and know these things, so that when you're designing, you design with those things in mind, right? Can you please explain the physical product part of the tax? I don't have access to the tax. I don't know. You can put it on the channel, maybe tag me, put a screenshot, tag me, I would answer you. Concerning the tags, at this beginner level, everything looks perfect. What tips can you use to spot errors? As a designer, your eyes are like your biggest assets because your eyes enable you to spot errors, right? If you do not know how, if you really do not know errors, right? Understand these things, their basic knowledge, their basic things rather, understand them. And when you use products, you would recognize it. It's like this visibility of a system status is easy, even if you're a beginner. As a normal user, if you click on something and the thing doesn't respond, you know that there's a problem there. And then as a designer, you understand that, okay, this thing is an issue, basically. So as a beginner, when you are using products frequently, you begin to train your eyes, begin to know bad design, you begin to know good design. Feed your eyes, basically. Go to inspiration platforms, go to Dribble, Pinterest, Behance, Ninja. Go there. You're going to feed your eyes with good design. And when you know what is good, you will know what is bad. You know the difference between a rotten apple and a good apple because you know how good apples look like, right? So feed your eyes with good designs. About the laws of heuristics, is it a disadvantage to want to be creative or not want to follow the conventional style? Maybe I feel like designing differently. This doesn't stop you from being creative, right? You can be creative. But the thing is, you are designing for users. And these people that you are designing for, they already have things in their head. So, and then your main purpose as a UI UX designer is so that these users can accomplish their goal. You're not an animator. Animators make things fine. You can use your creativity to like 100% there, yes. But here you have to consider the people that are using the products. You have to consider that they might not know these things. It's like making a button triangle. I'll not even know where to click or something, right? So make sure that you can be creative. It doesn't stop you from being creative, but make sure that you follow these rules. Let me say like that, rules, so that your users can use your product and accomplish their goals. That's the main purpose. Are laws of UX same as principle of designs? Design is vast. Design is broad. Laws of UX are parts of principles of design. They are not the same as principle of design. Please explain how we apply this in solving the given task. I don't know the given task, actually. I can't remember. Please post it on the channel. You can tag me. One person, please. Not like 7,000 people tagging me, please. Just one person, and I'll respond to you then. Thanks for the lecture. You were quite fast, but please. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry that was fast. But please, can you explain the Doherty threshold and heuristics again? Can watch my recording actually to save time because just 15 minutes. Can watch the recording, maybe slow it down or something. To make new and innovative groundbreaking designs like what Apple did to Android, is it okay to break some laws of UX? You're not breaking laws. Creativity, it doesn't mean you have to break a law. So the thing about Apple is Apple created a totally new operating system. But even with this operating system, it doesn't hinder me from doing any other thing I want to do. I can easily go to my phone and I can see that, oh, the call button looks like a phone and stuff like that. So they were innovative, but they did not hinder me from accomplishing my goal, right? As guide our attacks, should they be within the confines of the law taught here only? No, that's why I gave you resources. Please check them out, read them, understand them, and then do your tax. There are 21 laws of UX that I've seen. Okay, thank you for confirming the number. How many are we supposed to use to access the website on the tax? When you're checking your whatever website they have provided for you to check, find the errors. Oh, this thing, when I'm clicking this button, is not giving me the response know that Doherty threshold has been violated there rather. And then you're like, okay, here I clicked on this button and it did not work. Something like that. Or if you think that the tax is not friendly, read it, read and understand, read it multiple times, understand. Your designers. For the assignment, are we to check if the sites follow all the laws of UX individually, or we should check? Use the sites. Just use those sites. Whenever you are the users there, forget that you're even the designer, except you're doing your tax, but you're the users, right? Use it, and then anything that hinders you from accomplishing your goal or frustrates your experience, note it down. Okay, whatever this thing is, where does it fall to? Which laws or law of UX does it fall into? Oh, this thing is looking way different from the normal. Okay, it falls under Hicks law, stuff like that. Must all designs created follow all the laws? So while designing, most designers, most experienced designers do all these things unconsciously. It's not like when you're designing, you're like, okay, does this page actually follow Jacob's law? Okay, you do it unconsciously because you know these laws in your head. That is the purpose of this class. Know the laws in your head. So when you're designing, you do these things unconsciously. Tax on design thinking. Are we to redesign the errors? I don't think you have to do that. Just follow any instruction that you have been given. In the new tax given, when you mention products, do you mean websites and apps or physical products? Products can be websites, apps, and physical products. It should be specified in your tax, I think. Are we supposed to choose all the sites or just one? There is instruction in your tax. Please follow the instruction. Does it mean you will need to consider user feedbacks when designing since they are the targets? Yes, you are designing for users. You're not designing for yourself. So whatever they say, that's why there is a feedback section on Apple Store or Play Store so that you get feedback and then use it to improve your design. That's why when people were shouting, you need to react on WhatsApp messages or something. WhatsApp did it. User feedback. Does Miller law apply to items grouped on a page rather than just numbers? They relate to items, not just numbers. So there's this thing that says group items in sevens or something. It doesn't work for everything. That's why I didn't include numbers so it doesn't confuse you, right? Just group similar things together. You find Apple's side button for quick to fix ringtones and sound uncomfortable. I find it very useful and easy to use design. How do designers deal with users' preference when considering fixable? Okay, so it's basically just two of us. So it's just me and you, right? So get more user feedback. Probably do like a poll. Who likes the Apple side thingy? Who doesn't like it? Yes or no? Whatever poll wins, majority of your users do like it. Or you can find something that works for both people. That's why there's also an option inside the phone to do what you have to do with the ringtones, not just the side button. Kindly help us with this lecture slide to make it easier. Yes, I think the slides will be available for you. Does the fit law apply to mostly mobile devices or applies equally to websites? All the laws apply to any product you're designing, whether websites or physical products. That's why in some of the examples, I included physical things that we see. As aesthetic usability effects can prevent issues from being discovered during usability tests, what can be done by a UI designer to note usability problems? Watch your users during usability tests. Watch how they interact with the product. Just watch them, get feedback from them, let them tell you. and then you identify, okay, this is the problem. Please, how can one create inclusive design? We have blind, colorblind, left-handed people. How can one design to solve everyone's problem? Cannot solve everyone's problem. That's one thing. But you can design inclusively. Yeah, you have to read up on that. Actually, there's a lot that goes into designing for colorblind people and left-handed people. Yeah, so you can read that up. Okay, I have asked this particular question for the 6th time, sorry, and yet I have not been given an answer. Is it possible to still use both code and error message to inform the user that the site has a problem? Use error message, use what I can understand. I don't know what error 503 means. So you adding it there and saying, oh, this, just remove it. Just remove it and tell me exactly what is wrong. Can we use usability heuristics to answer giving tax laws of UX? The reason I group them together is because they are similar. So you can use it. Is it advisable to focus on just one niche as a product designer? I don't think that's what you should focus on right now as a beginner. If you are a beginner, I do not know your experience level. The first thing is learn the basics first. When you learn the basics, when you be a generalist first, and then when you know, okay, all the things, you can now pick, this is what I want to do. I'll be answering just 3 more questions because it's almost 9. And you can ask, I think last class there was a thread created for questions. I think it will be done this time around. So I don't know if it will be done. You can ask your questions under that thread. So yeah. These questions are being repeated. Okay, so you said in Miller's law, the 7 in question, is it numbers of objects or numbers of seconds? Okay, so I mentioned that users have little attention span, right? And then you should group items that are similar. It doesn't have to be 7, it doesn't have to be 5, it doesn't have to be 2. Just group things that are similar so that I can easily identify them, basically. Can we get tutorial links on how to use UX laws on actual products? Please and please, Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. When I was even doing this slide, I use YouTube. So please use YouTube and Google for your assignments, please, or your tax, and call it tax. All right, I'll answer to 9. Considering the aesthetic usability law, does that mean that we have to prioritize how a product looks than the function? No. Find the balance, basically. Your product can be fine and have good experience. You don't have to trade one for the other, right? Find the balance. Okay, so it seems like there's a lot of questions on Miller's law. Let me go back to it. So Miller's law says people can't store a lot of items in their working memory. So make it easier for them to process and scan through items, right? This numbers is the perfect example. For those of us that listen to radios, whenever they are calling the numbers, they do not just say the number straight. They do not just say the numbers straight, because they know that when they speed it up, you would not grab it immediately. That's why they break it into chunks, right? That's why they call 081, 357, 123, all of those things. They break it down into chunks for you to easily grab and understand it. This other example of Google Docs, right? Imagine if all of these things were just placed when you open Google Docs, all those things are placed on the canvas for you, right? You'll be confused. You wouldn't know what to press, how to press it, and how to do your work. Another good example is Figma, that everybody listening to me should be familiar with. You can see that Figma has a very the canvas is not distracting at all. So you just create a file and then you see an empty canvas, right? But there are some tabs at the upper left, and then when you click on them, you get drop downs that shows you a couple of other things that you can do. So it's basically just breaking down this information and chunking these things down, grouping them together so that you understand, and then everything is not just pushed to you at once. I hope that explains Miller's law for you. So I'm going to look for the tags because a lot of people are asking for the tags. So please, some minutes, let me. Question concerning the tags on UX laws. You have been given some sites or products to examine and provide feedback. Now, if we look at these products from different devices, we would obviously note different issues. For example, the Fitz and Miller's law would have a different feeling when we use a laptop and a mobile phone to access these websites. What do you advise? Use any device that is available for you to use and find the errors while using that device. You can probably state that, oh, this is the device I am using, right? So that we know. I'm looking for the tags. Okay, I've seen the tags now, so please listen attentively. The tag says find apps and websites, identify which law they got right and the ones that they got wrong. So there are a couple of websites here. So I think these are the websites your mentors want you to use. So go to those websites, identify the issues there. When I was giving this presentation, I mentioned Netflix. So if Netflix was one of the apps that were given, right, you go to Netflix and then you see that Netflix has helped you as a user. They have reduced the time for you to make a decision by breaking down complex tasks into small steps or recommending options for you to use, right? You can see that they have done that on Netflix. You can just identify Netflix makes use of this law, or Netflix obeys this Hicks law, and then you can probably show like an illustration of where they obeyed this law, just like I did here. I think that is what your tax is for. People are asking how you use Figma. I use Figma for this slide. Figma, basically, you can do anything on Figma. So you can get your screenshots or whatever, put it on Figma, highlight it. Netflix obeyed Hicks law or something like that. Be creative with your design, with your assignments, right? Use Figma. Go to the sites where you see that they obeyed the law, screenshot it. Where you see that they disobeyed the law, screenshot it. Tell us they did this. They obeyed this law. If they did not obey the law, you can actually go a step further rather, and say, okay, this is how they can obey this law. It's just practice for you to understand how these things are. Like I said, as designers, your biggest asset is your eyes. You have to train your eyes. This is how you train your eyes, by identifying the good design and the bad design. I hope that answers the question on the tax, about the tax. I hope it does. We have to download the apps and websites. Okay, you guys, you know what? The tax would be written in a way that everybody would understand. We would rewrite the tax in a way that you understand. But if it's to download apps, yes, please do. You're a designer, start learning these things now. I have apps on my phone that I don't use, but I downloaded them because I wanted to see how they did something. Start learning now, right? You can delete them after if you want. So download them. If you have to download them to complete your tax, please do. Any other questions, please? Yeah, the fiscal product parts, your the tax will be rewritten, but it's not even a problem. What are fiscal products? Fiscal products are things that you can see: your car, your chair, your laptop. Those are physical products. Your phone. I talked about this side thing on my iPhone. It's a physical product. That is something I found out. Remote, physical products, guys. Guys, the car, physical products. Look at anything in your house and identify, while I'm using this thing, am I having any bad experience? What is the bad experience? Fit it into the law, or, group it or something. Any other questions? Okay, so the format wasn't stated. If the format is stated, please use the format. Use Figma if Figma is stated. Use Google Docs if Google Docs is stated. If it's not stated, use anything you want to use, as long as we can see your tax. Any other questions? Okay, I'll wait 1 minute or 2 minutes to see if there are any other questions, and then please, when you submit your tax, when you submit your tax, make sure that the link is public. Whatever you are using, Google Docs, Figma, whatever it is that you're using, make sure that that link is public. Make sure anybody can access it. Thank you. The task will be rewritten for us to understand clearly what we are to do. So after it has been written, maybe we'll give like an update and then you check it and then ask questions you have. Physical products. You're doing physical products and websites. Both. Design is not just websites. It's not just apps. Physical products too. I made mention of physical products in this presentation. Right here is a physical product, a car. So that is what a physical product is. So we are sending the links of the screenshot and comments. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If the tax is written, will deadline be extended? No, it will be written today now, or yes, this night. So why will it be extended? No, please. Another thing you need to learn as designers is to be able to meet up with deadlines. Some very, very unreasonable deadlines will hit you. So start learning. On how many apps should we base our research on? We'll give you a number. We'll give you a number. How do we correct what those websites got wrong? We designed them using Figma. Maybe, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. So when the tax has been written, all these questions will be answered. Please, any other questions in by 9:10, I wouldn't be answering any more questions on here. All right, so thank you guys so much for listening. What I'll just leave you guys with is, as designers, please learn, please read. Learn. You're going to be learning on your own. Every designer is self-taught, irrespective of whatever bootcamp that they go to. You need to learn on your own. You need to read on your own, right? The resources that I shared at the end, go to them. You have a phone, you have a laptop, you have data, you have Google. Google is free, guys. Google is free. Go to Google. You don't have to ask the mentor everything. Some answers are on Google. Yeah. So go to Google, ask Google those questions, and Google will give you the answer you want. All right. Have a nice night, guys. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone. So for those of you asking if the video is recorded, how can I access the video? Please, the link you use to watch the video now is the same link for the video. It does not change. Thank you so much.